Pitched a lot and threw a lot of curveballs into the bit of Buster Posey. Barry Zito's on the line right now here in the morning roast on 95.7 The Game. And Barry, good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us after learning about the shocking news yesterday. Buster Posey deciding to hang up the cleats, put away the mitt, and retire from the game of baseball. A shock to everybody. How shocked were you when you heard the news yesterday, Barry?
You know, it was kind of a split reaction. On the one hand, of course, I was surprised because I know he has more left in the tank, and on the other hand, I know Buster, man, and I think he's an anomaly in that he did not allow the game of baseball to define him like we all did, and he has other things going on and things that he cares about more than his career, and I think it's hard for all of us to say that, and I think that. When Buster says he's done, man. And I think it's incredible and it's courageous because the glory of baseball is a pretty appetizing thing, and Buster doesn't want that, and I love that.
Wow, that's very well said. Take me back to the Giants back then. You signed with the Giants as a free agent, and Barry Bonds is larger than life. And the Giants and the team kind of goes through a down cycle, but you and Lincecum and Kane and the pitching staff starts to really turn things around. Molina was the guy behind the dish. And in comes this kid, Buster Posey, and we had heard about him for a few years. But, what was your first impressions of seeing him in those first initial spring trainings when there really wasn't a lot of expectations on the organization?
Yeah, I remember when he came from college, I think he came out when we signed him and we kind of said hello and met him and we knew he was a big shot, but he kind of seemed wide-eyed, but at the same time, he kind of seemed comfortable, even as a college draft pick. And he just seemed like a guy that had 10 years in, even his first season, his first spring training. I don't know how he has that presence of mind or that, that calmness, but again, I think it goes back to what I said earlier, which is, baseball wasn't his god, so to speak, and so he went into it with a lot of perspective.
Barry Zito here on the line, former Giant, former a three-time All-Star, of course, World Series champ with the Giants, also the AL Cy Young Award winner back in 2002, pitched a lot of games with Buster Posey. And, who was Buster Posey off the field? Because we see this stoic, very focused catcher. He's calling balls and strikes. He's hitting 300. He's winning MVP awards. But who was he off the diamond? I hear that he had a very underrated sense of humor, Barry.
Yeah, he does. He is a lot like you see. That's not an act. That's just who he is. He is, stoic, but he doesn't lack personality or humor. He's just, he's not intimidated. That's how I would put it. And he doesn't really get excited about, the things that certainly my ego got very excited about. All the fans are out there cheering for me. Oh, okay, I'm going to go sign all the autographs, and Buster's like, well, okay, I got to get my work done here and do this for,
Right.
So he really didn't want the personal glory. He didn't want that, that hit of that, like, oh, everybody loves you. He just didn't care about that. And I think that's so rare in the world, in the social media era when everyone's just fighting for attention. And so, Buster, his personality off the field, he just had a dry sense of humor. He would rag guys. He would say really funny stuff, but he would just say it with a straight face, which almost made it better.
I love that. Barry, you've talked a lot about the relationship between, pitcher and pitching coach, pitcher and father, pitcher and catcher, and those things really matter. And everyone's going to read off all the stats today, right? Oh, this is what he did. These are his batting numbers, and these were the awards that he won. Walk me through the baseball mind of Buster Posey, like on a game day or through the sequence of an at-bat. What made him such a beautiful baseball mind?
I think that he just, he cared about the game, but, you hear this thing where it's like you care, but you don't care too much. And I think when you're not so obsessed with success to the point where you're, willing to, die for it, I think you can actually see things a little clearer, and you can see things coming, and you can adjust in the moment better because you're not so attached to one specific thing. And I think that's how Buster just went about it. He checked the boxes. He went in and he did his his PT stuff with the trainers, and then he would study tape and get his workouts in and all that. But there was just this sense of calmness about him that I hadn't seen in any other players.
And you guys had a lot of calm players. You guys had a lot of characters on those Giants teams. Of course,
yeah.
You, Timmy, Tim Lincecum, of course. Matt Cain, kind of wheezy. Yeah, I mean, you guys had Pat Burrell. I mean, you guys had a lot of guys on that roster there. You got the one constant in Buster Posey. Barry Zito here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. Barry, can you talk about the time he came back from that devastating leg injury? I mean, because that was brutal, and it kind of derailed the 2011 season. Although you guys were rolling in first place, you make the Beltran trade, and, of course, the offense kind of they can't score there in the last 2 months of the season. But he comes back from that and wins an MVP award. I know you're not going to be surprised at the way he came back from that leg injury, but can you just talk about the leg injury itself, when he suffered it, and then when he came back and put on an all-time performance?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that really killed our morale just as a team in general, because Buster, ever since he got to the Giants, he was that silent leader, and he wasn't the rah-rah guy on the top step, but he was the guy that was kind of quietly leading the team in the clubhouse and on the field. And so when he, took that hit at home plate, and, there was a lot of controversy about that at that point. There wasn't the whole rule about creating the lane and all that stuff for the guy to slide. And, he did the worst thing, that we could ever imagine. And that's what happens when you get blindsided, right? And
right.
So he got thrown back on his foot at a bad angle, and nobody wants to watch that replay. And, and I think it snapped his tibia. And obviously, worse than any of the bone stuff was the high ankle stuff, and that's the stuff that really can take you out. You rip those ligaments in between your tibia and fibula, and man, that could be a career changer. And so, he obviously did what he had to do and came back, and right in the process of having twins as well through all that. So, nobody talks about that part of it, but that's a lot. And he came back and obviously just killed it in 2012, and led us all the way back to the championship.
Yeah, let's talk about that game one in 2012. You guys are facing Verlander. Everybody remembers it for Pablo and the home runs. You had the big hit in that game, and Buster Posey's the guy behind the dish. I mean, everything that you had gone through, everything that he had gone through, it was almost like magic. I mean, like legitimate magic from the top of the heavens. Game one, you guys take out the Detroit Tigers. Was that the greatest moment, the two of you together, was that World Series?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was just, that's what we all dream of as kids, playing games, Little League games. We dream about winning a World Series, and it is it's the pinnacle experience as a baseball player. And so, to go through that with Buster and have him be 60 feet away for that game and my other game in St. Louis 5 days before that. I mean, those are the two biggest games of my career, and
huge.
Buster was right there for both of them, and everything that he came through, and it's just, all good feelings around that.
Yeah, that was a huge Game 5 in St. Louis. You guys rallied from 3-1. You guys rallied from 0-2 in Cincinnati, and, of course, win the second World Series in 3 years. And before we let you go, can you tell us about a Buster hug? Because they looked a little awkward at times, but Giants fans eat up the Buster hugs, Barry.
Wait, what is it? What's the Buster hug?
The
Buster hug is like after a big moment, you win the first World Series or a no-hitter or whatever. He jumps up out of the crouch and he comes running over and he hugs the pitcher,
But he hugs in a way like he doesn't know how to hug anybody. He kind of like lifts up the pitcher or he pats him on the back. But it became a thing on Giants Twitter. We got to send it to you, Barry, on Twitter, where he's just hugging the pitcher very awkwardly, does a couple hops, and it became labeled the Buster hug.
Oh, my God. That is great. Oh, man. Yeah, I feel like I've been a part of a couple of those, and, I don't think I remembered it being too awkward, but I'm a hugger, so usually I kind of take control of the hugs. But if guys aren't huggers, then, maybe both of them are going, oh, God, what are we doing here?
Obviously, he's going to spend time with his family. You think he ever coaches at any point?
I mean, obviously that job will be waiting for him whenever he wants it, but just, again, knowing Buster, I think he's going to enjoy, taking a breath and, he's got his new set of twins, and they really got to focus on everything the kids need, and Buster's just a down home small town guy. He doesn't like all the hype and all the craziness. He likes the quiet life, and so he's going to get to have that, and that's incredible, man. But whenever he wants, the game is going to embrace him and welcome back in whatever role he wants.
Well, continue to do what you do, Barry, with
Thanks,
the music,
Barry.
man. We appreciate the time this morning. Thank you so much for shedding some light on Buster Posey, who retired yesterday from the game of baseball. Barry Zito, everybody, here on the Morning Roast. Barry, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, guys. Y'all take care.
Absolutely. Barry Zito here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game.